Majors Monthly is back for the month of February. Noah Smith, Dylan Baker. Noah, I'm excited to be back talking Majors again.
Yeah, it's good to be back here. We're a little bit late here this month getting the episode out, but as promised, one episode per month, and we're here, although it is the 25th of the month. We're getting it out, and we're ready to talk a little bit about Majors. It's been a kind of a slow off season so far, but things are about to start picking up, so we're excited to talk to some Majors and talk about what's going on here with your hometown club.
Yeah, we wanted to bring Majors fans content throughout every month of an offseason that can feel kind of long. As you mentioned, in the Intercounty Baseball League, there have been some signings popping up over the recent weeks for the Majors. Guys like Braden Farrington, Cleveland Brownlee returning, Austin Wilkie, who we will talk to later on in this episode, coming back, Bo Lewington, a new ad for the Majors. Some guys that are starting to get signed for the team, and we will only see that number pick up as time goes on.
Yeah, we saw our first little bit here at the back end of February of warm weather, and baseball fans excited to hopefully get that coming their way in the next few weeks here as we work our way into March, the warm weather coming and baseball just around the corner. Dylan, we got a couple of things to get to here before we are joined by, as you mentioned, Austin Wilkie, the newest signee of the London Majors. Season passes on sale here for the 2022 season for the London Majors. And hey, you get 21 games for the price of 18 this season, same price as it was last year. 3 more home games that you get to attend for the London Majors. And if you buy now before the season starts, you get 10% off at the London Majors team store on game days in person only. So Dylan, I don't know, that sounds like a pretty exciting deal to me. If you're looking to get your season passes, if you've been waiting, probably a good time to hop on that.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a great deal for Majors fans. I know last year tickets were hard to come by at times with capacity restrictions. A lot of sellouts last year for the Majors. Coming off a championship, the guys on the field are going to be hungry looking for a repeat, and you got to come out and see some great baseball. You get a great deal on it, as you mentioned. 21 games for the price of 18. Obviously, we've talked about it in previous episodes. IBL regular season schedule for all teams getting bumped up to 42 games, which means 21 at home, but you can still see all 21 for the price of 18 and get a discount at the store. What's not to love?
Majors are also looking for some volunteers throughout all positions throughout the ballpark. And hey, Dylan, even us here at Majors TV, we're looking for volunteers for the 2022 season. So check out the information on your screen there. Go to the website, Majors website, and fill out the application form if you think it's something you'd be interested in. We're looking for a variety of positions, and as well the London Majors just throughout the ballpark, looking for people to help out. So always a good idea. And hey, you get to spend the summer at the ballpark, which is probably the best part about doing what we do.
Absolutely, it is. No, I mean, there's nothing I look forward to more every Friday than coming to that park and getting a chance to call a ball game. You've got a chance to help volunteer for a greatly run organization that is local. You can spend time at beautiful Labatt Park. I mean, so many different things to go for you with this opportunity. We're looking for setup and tear down people, for camera operators, so many things that we're looking for at Majors TV, and the team as a whole looking for volunteers around the ballpark. It's a great opportunity.
Well, Dylan, without further ado, let's get into welcoming on our guest for this month's edition of Majors Monthly. Joining us now, the newest signee of the London Majors, Austin Wilkie. Austin, thanks for hopping on and joining us this week. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate it.
Austin, you came over to the Majors this season in the dispersal draft from the Guelph Royals. You originally signed in Guelph for this year. You played in London. Tell us a little bit about what that process was like and what your first impressions were of the Majors organization.
Yeah, well, I got to the league in 2019 with Brantford, and then got traded at the end of the year to over to Guelph. And obviously, the season didn't happen in 2022. And then when 2021 rolled around, I found myself actually at the University of Western Ontario after being in the States for a couple of years. And yeah, so Guelph didn't field a team, and I was already living in London. Got a place there with a bunch of roommates who also go to Western, and so it just worked out perfectly. And found myself a pretty good new home in London, it seems like, for the time being.
Was there any chat when you made the move, obviously, to Western in London, to get yourself in contact with Roop Chanderdat, knowing that you were going to be in London and knowing that you've played in the league before?
A little bit. Like, I contacted Roop actually previously because we were chatting about me coming to Western a little bit, and so we'd been in touch. And then when the Guelph thing happened and they decided not to field a team, fortunately, that relationship had already kind of started. So nothing really happened with the Western situation because I was actually playing in the IBL before. I was at Western, so Roop kind of already knew me from my first year in Brantford. And then I just kind of went from there, which got super lucky about.
You've mentioned that you were at Western, and we've talked about it already. What was it like to balance your studies at university with baseball as the playoffs were rolling around?
Yeah, like when I was a student athlete in the States, obviously, you have to learn how to time management and a lot of those skills to balance the schooling plus the practicing. But I'd never actually been on two teams at the same time before and also had school as well. So that was a new challenge I faced there. But it was pretty good. Fortunately, school was online for the first little bit, which helped me with my time management. But then when we got to the playoffs and the Western season started, since we have a bit of a late start this year, not starting until the beginning of September, it worked out pretty well. And I was able to, miss a couple practices and a couple games for Western when, the playoffs rolled around, the big games were there and the ones I couldn't miss, obviously. So both my coaches, both Michael Umley at Western and Roop Chenardat here in London, both are pretty communicative with me. And that helped a lot and made the process pretty easy.
So obviously we've talked about how you've been in the IBL before coming to London, obviously some experience with the league through a number of teams. And now getting to London, your first experience getting to play at Labatt Park for 18 home games for the summer in a normal year, the less that we played this past summer, but getting to play your home games at Labatt Park, the history there and the fans at Labatt Park. Tell us a little bit about your first experience playing at Labatt in front of the hometown fans.
It was amazing. Like the fans, those are probably the London fans, probably the best fans I've ever played for before in my life. Not that there's too much competition in that realm, but it was electric, especially this year with COVID and the restrictions we had on capacity and people having to wear masks around the stadium. It was really a great environment. Labatt Park's a historic place. Oh, well, fun fact, actually, my first experience at Labatt was when I used to bat boy for the Mississauga Twins before they moved to Burlington, before they moved to Welland when I was like 9 years old. And I remember I got to miss school one day. I got up at like 7 a.m. and got on the bus with the Mississauga Twins, and they were playing in London at Labatt Stadium. And I remember that day I was a bat boy, and I looked around and I was like, man, why can't all the parks in this league be like this? So it's kind of funny, a decade later that this is my home park where I get to play, half of the games. And it's a bit of an iconic venue. It's cool to see some of the historic artifacts and info down there by the batting cage down the left field line. It's nice to read about some of the former players and the history of the clubs that have come through this park. It's a pretty cool venue.
It's an awesome story, and obviously Labatt Park, so prestigious in its history, so really cool that you got a chance to play after experiencing it as a young kid. Now, in your first year with the majors, you were very successful. What do you think led to that success after having the time off that everybody did due to the pandemic? How do you think you were able to come in for the majors this season, slot in, play some center field, and be a really good bat as well?
Well, obviously my first year in 2019, the league gave me, let me get my toes wet and my feet wet, which was nice. So I had a little bit of experience coming, and I wasn't really sure what to expect with London. I knew, they're a bit more of a structured club than some of the other teams in the league. And so I just kind of came in with that expectation that I knew was going to be a bit more of a professional environment, which is something that I wanted. I enjoy, guys who take the game very seriously. I always have. And I've always, got the most enjoyment out of viewing the game that way. So it was really a great time, I thought, with regards to that.
Now, a lot of the guys that we've had a chance to talk to throughout the course of this offseason, both on this show and just in life, have talked about how the London Majors team this year really mingled off the field. And I think that's what translated onto the field. Would you say that's true, is that the guys were a team first in the clubhouse and then made it out onto the field that way?
Oh, for sure. Just like even from the first practice I got there and the beginning of May, I hadn't really played for a while. Obviously, I don't think I'd picked up a bat in like almost half a year there for the time being, and kind of rolled off the couch. And I know some other guys had too. And none of us were really sure what to expect with the season coming in, the 30-game season and the protocols that were going to have to be in place. But I think almost the fact that stuff kind of around London was pretty closed down. There was nothing really else much to do than come to the field, practice, come in and get extra work on days off, especially guys like me who, I did have a job in the summer, but once that ended, had a bit more time with school. Guys like Philman and some of the younger guys, Carroll, Luke Kelly, who are kind of import guys towards the latter half of the season, just kind of hanging around the clubhouse, on days where you didn't really have to do much. Sometimes the clubhouse was the meeting spot, and then, maybe we'll go out on downtown somewhere and, go for a walk in one of the nice parks in London, something like that, to kind of show some of the international guys around what the city has to offer. But it was pretty interesting how it kind of all came together. And I've been on some clubs where, it hasn't really meshed. And it's unfortunate when those situations arise, but it was kind of awesome to have, the guys mix really well. And I think it's because we had a good blend of young and old guys. Like we've got a really good older core group, like guys like Queen or guys like Ferry, guys like Cleve, obviously, who kind of have been there and what's up. And then there's got guys like me and some other dudes who came in and with a little fresh lifeblood, and just it mixed perfectly almost.
There's no doubt that chemistry was one of the key contributing factors to the Majors championship this year. Tell us a little bit about what it was like for you winning the title and getting a chance to win it all with a group of guys that you were so tight with.
It was amazing. And, obviously I got lucky because some of the guys on this team, I think I've said on these interviews before that it took them a long time to get to this ring. And, I kind of got spoiled, in my second year in the league, kind of just got spit out here in London. And, now I get to play for a ring, which is pretty special. But that playoff experience was something I'll cherish and remember for my lifetime, and be telling my kids and hopefully my grandkids about down the line. The history, the full 45-year history thing, that was a pretty cool feat. But also just having most of us being locked in our homes for the last 12 to 18 months prior to that playoff outing, and you can kind of sense the extra enjoyment almost that the fans were getting from that that little bit of entertainment that we could offer them a few times a week. And, we played hard in return to that, so it seemed like we kind of fed off them and they fed off us, which was nice. And I was really happy that we could pull it out for them.
Yeah, I imagine you talk about how you grew up kind of in the IBL, if you will, as a bat boy, and obviously being an Ontario guy, you've known of the IBL. A lot of the import guys that come in here, either from across the border or even from other parts of Canada, might not know the history of the IBL. So I can imagine, Austin, from your point of view, it means a little bit more to be a bat boy in the league when you were 9 years old, to work your way up now to be a champion and win the same title that you saw guys winning years ago. It's got to mean a little bit more.
For sure. Like, you're right. Like, not a lot of guys know the history of the IBL, I say. And just for me growing up, I had a lot of my former coaches play in the IBL. I've had former guys when I was on, 15, 16U teams who were on the 18U team, they played in the IBL. So I feel like it's almost a rite of passage a little bit, in the GTA baseball, Ontario baseball community, I guess you could say. But not a lot of guys get to, win a ring, which is huge. And I think that's something I'll cherish for sure. But also just as nice because, my dad's a big baseball guy and he's got buddies who I didn't even know followed the IBL, who reached out after, we won the championship. So it's always kind of cool to see, who's kind of lurking in the shadows, just, keeping track of your career or, the London team, stuff like that. The fans who don't really make it known that they're fans, who come out, in those championship years. So I really enjoyed that part of it for sure.
It's really great. It's got to be a pretty special feeling to have things like that after a championship. Let's pivot to next year. We've mentioned off the top of the show, Austin, that you are signing with the Majors for the 2022 season. I guess it's this year now, but next season. How excited are you to be back in the pinstripes?
I'm pretty pumped. With the way, our good friend Doug Ford has been talking recently, he's going to drop all these restrictions. Hopefully we can get, a full barn at Labatt, which, I think after a championship season, obviously I think the fans are never going to have any higher expectations than they do now. So, hopefully we can go out and try to meet those. But I'm excited for the year. We got a good core coming back. I think we've got hopefully some pretty cool signings coming in on the horizon. We'll see. And it's going to be a tough league this year for sure. A lot of imports weren't able to make it in last year, and that's going to be, I guess, nil or negated this year. So we're going to see, I think, some really high quality players in the league, which I'm excited for. Being a young guy, you want to compare yourself against the best. So I'm excited to get back out there and play in front of the fans, kind of tussle with some guys who, I haven't seen in a while. I only see in the summer and, who are in the league now, guys maybe a year or two younger than me. I used to play against in travel ball. So I'm pretty pumped for it and ready to get going.
Final question from me before we end things off here. And the IBL expanding their season this year, adding another 3 home games, 3 road games. What does this do to change your off-season habits, if at all? Are you training a little bit more, knowing that you're going to have to squeeze in that many more games throughout the week, or are you kind of just going about your normal business?
No, I saw that and I realized, well, I already knew that we were going to have a bit of a tougher summer this year just with having the regular season back to normal. I've got a job too. So, these guys who complain about working 9 to 5 and me being a young guy, I got a job too now. So I'll have to, I guess, learn some of their tricks about keeping up with, off the field and on the field a bit more. But no, it's it should be pretty good. And I'm a guy who likes to stay in shape. With the Western season, we played all fall, and then I took about the month and a half, November into December off, and then had my eyes set on here. So I've been training hard in the gym when it's been open. It's been tough. It's been spotty here and there. I go to Good Life usually, and our school gym has been closed. But I'm looking forward to see how my body holds up. I think I'm pretty prepared from a physical standpoint, but a lot of guys I think don't consider the mental part of it too, right? So I'm looking forward to balancing the working side of it and the baseball side of it, and the challenges that arise from that. But from those challenges usually spur development, growth, all that good stuff that I'm looking to be a part of. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us for this month's edition of Majors Monthly, Austin. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and we're looking forward to that May 15th opening day when we get to see you back in the London Majors uniform.
Me too, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Austin. That was Austin Wilkie joining us here on the February edition of Majors Monthly. Dylan, always good to talk to Austin. Good to see he's excited to be back here for the London Majors in this 2022 season.
Yeah, Austin, a guy who came over after the dispersal draft from Guelph last year. He signed with the majors. He was a really key piece for the team throughout the season. With some injuries early on in the year, he was slotted into a starting role. He was playing every single game. He hit for a high average. He came up with big hits in big moments, and he was a great guy to have for the majors. So to see that excitement to return to the team for the 2022 season, it's a really positive sign for the majors that they've got a guy who is a great contributor. Very much looking forward to being back.
We'll come back at you next month here for March edition of Majors Monthly. Hopefully more signings coming your way. And hey, we're getting ever closer to first pitch in this 2022 season. Remember, the Majors travel to Toronto on May 15th to kick off the season before coming back home to Labatt Park on May 20th for the 2022 home opener. As mentioned off the start of the show, tickets and season passes available on our website, so check it out there. Dylan, that does it for us this month here on Majors Monthly. We'll see you again next time.